This week's review is epic. There is no other word for it. It is quite literally epic. Hello and welcome to AAR on Air. This week's review really is one word title. Epic. Not only is it the name of the rifle, but it is the spoiler summary as well, because this rifle really is just epic. Now, I often do a mix of budget and the more expensive items along the way on this channel. Well, this one is raising the bar to a whole new level, and this is top drawer, top shelf, top quality, and is for the shooters with a slightly higher budget, or the shooters who are prepared to save up for something very special indeed. So no comments about costs. You've been pre-warned. Let's start with the stats, shall we? Well, it's not quite that simple, because you see, these are really very modular, and they come in a variety of lengths, calibers, stock styles, barrels, different air tanks, etc, etc. And that's before you start looking at the accessories that are available. This particular model is the Epic 2. Now, that doesn't mean it's the second generation. Not at all. Epic, like a lot of the Czech manufacturers who seem to be the centre of excellence at the moment in airgun technology and manufacturing and design, name their different models with numbers rather than names, which often confuses us over here in Blighty, because we're used to having our models named. Incidentally, the Model 1 isn't even out yet, and will be a while before it's even launched. Watch this space, and maybe a time to remind you to subscribe and click that alarm notification bell. Anyway, enough of that. Back to the Epic 2. This is the 177 caliber version and is also available in 22, 25 and 30. And it's rumoured that there's even a 9mm coming out, which gives you some idea of the power capabilities of these rifles. Naturally, the bigger calibers are for the FAC market or countries where there are fewer power restrictions. The barrel on this one I have here is 300mm. It's a CZUB non-choked version, so slugs are going to be the order of the day probably. They also come in 550mm and a huge 700mm barrel version in both the CZUB non-choked or the Lothar Walther polygonal, which is a mouthful, non-choked option in the same length. So you're starting to get a feel for how individuals these amazing air rifles can be. Anyway, with all that said, this one is 800mm long, which is around 31.5 inches in old money, and unscoped tips the scales at 3.7 kilograms or 8 pounds 5 ounces. This weight is entirely down to the construction materials used and the add-ons fitted to this particular one. But we'll come to that a little later. Let's start at the front, shall we? The barrel is threaded on the front for a silencer. Well, actually, it's threaded on the front for silencers, because this is threaded twice. You see, it has the 1/2" UNF industry standard thread for any silencers you may have lying around or prefer to use. Not content with that, the second thread when I can get it off, is specifically for fitting Epic's own silencer. At this point, it's showing these are a company pushing the envelope and yet not trying to force you or bully you into their products only, which is such a refreshing change in this industry. The shroud is carbon fibre along the rest of the length. Below this is the air cylinder, or tank as most companies actually prefer to call them. The front of this carries an oversized and easy to read gauge showing clearly the 300 bar max fill pressure. The rest of the tube carries the main air chamber and the plenum. There is a regulator adjuster on the side that is freely open on the FAC or full power versions, but will have a maximum 12 foot-pounds locked off on the UK spec version for obvious reasons. The regulator gauge is situated on the very bottom and again is clear oversized item. The positioning of this is also worth noting because this is the back end of an Arca Swiss rail. Now, any photographers out there will instantly recognize this rail, but it may well be a little strange to some airgunners out there. The Arca Swiss system is a broad rail that fits onto quality tripods to hold your expensive camera gear nice and secure and solid. This will mate up nicely with your quality camera tripod or the available carbon fibre Epic tripod. And I mean epic. Wow! Which puts some of the high-end camera tripods completely and utterly to shame with its ball head and oil-dampened system. It has to be one of the very best tripods I've seen, and I so want one. It almost demands a review of its own, but not today. Incidentally, there is also a clamp option that is simply awesome. Be warned, quality of this magnitude does not come cheap, and it's likely to be several £100s. So, the Arca Swiss rail definitely gets my vote. Then we come to the main chassis with a super smooth biathlon style side lever on the right hand side, but this is interchangeable for a truly ambidextrous option. This is also decockable. Below this is the military style safety switch, which is a simple and efficient item which can be operated from your thumb whilst you're shooting. Below this is an adjustable, fully adjustable two-stage trigger with rotary trigger blade, the latter being an absolute favourite of mine. The grip is a rubberized AR-15 item. The top rail is a 30 MAO incline for those longer shots. There is a cutout for the magazine, which is a beautifully made 13-round item in this .177 caliber. It carries 11, 10 and 8 rounds in the 22, 25 and 30 calibers respectively. These magazines incidentally will take 14mm long projectiles for any fancy ammo you may be thinking of using. Time to move back to the rear stock, which again is machined out of alloy and has so many adjustments to it. It resembles the £3,000 seat option on a high-end sports car. The exact fit is only restricted by the time the shooter takes to get this to mould them individually. It has a cheek riser with up, down, forwards, backwards and lock-in-place screws. The rear butt is adjustable backwards, forwards, up, down, again with locking screws. There is a rear monopod fitted on this particular model, and there is also the adjustable backrest fitted too. There is also a QD sling swivel also. And if that lot wasn't enough, then the whole rear stock is foldable to reduce the overall length of this down to around 550mm or 21.5 inches. The real takeaway is that the stock is solid, and I mean really solid. There is zero flex with it, which is often evident in a lot of wannabe companies' versions, which then goes on to completely destroy your accuracy if you're wobbling all over the place. I have suffered this problem on a few manufacturers' guns and refuse to review them when they were that bad. I think in summary so far we can say that the engineering is literally second to none. Often I can be accused of gushing over one gun or another. In this particular case, I am just awestruck. The bar has well and truly been reset, and it's been reset very high indeed. Time to get this sub 12 version over the chronograph and see what it's producing. I will be reviewing an FAC version in the future, but for now I put 10.03 grain slugs in to start with because it's unchoked. And it saw 727 feet per second, which is 11.77 foot-pounds or 15.96 joules. Okay, then I dropped some 10.34 grain pellets in, and it saw 720 feet per second, which is 11.91 foot-pounds or 16.14 joules. That wasn't a surprise to me because slugs often leave the barrel slower but retain more energy at point of impact. So, to a certain extent, this is a little misleading, and the energy at source figure would be more important. But hey, that's an entirely different program and maybe one for the future. It's also worth mentioning that the spread across a full magazine was 2 feet per second. Unbelievable. Well, as you can see, I've put a scope on this to get it out on the range to see how it performs. Now, it goes without saying that a top draw gun demands a top draw scope. So the Continental is the optic of choice for this test. 40 metres. Here we go. Let's give it a go, shall we? Stuck back in. That's it. I think that kind of says it all, really. And my fingers are starting to turn blue. It's very cold. There is a breeze coming in into the paddock bit whilst I'm sat here in the courtyard. It's sheltered, but as soon as it gets out there, it's not. Yeah, I am in awe with it, to be honest. Yes, it wants adjusting to me. And the hours you could spend and enjoy doing that is immeasurable. But it's just such a lovely piece of kit. And it'll do that all day long, just going through the same hole effectively. And it's not ideal conditions. Gosh, I mean, I want to revisit this. And what I am going to do as well is I'm going to revisit it with the FAC version. And then we'll see what it's capable of, and we'll stretch it out to some greater distances. But it is a dream of a thing to use. The engineering is superb. I've probably gushed enough in the review. This one has got the Epic silencer on the end. It's not expensive, and it is a lovely shaped thing. The whole thing is a dream. It really is a dream to use. This is one of those guns that you will aspire to at some point, and you should certainly aspire to the engineering that they've achieved on this, because it's outstanding. It's truly outstanding. Let me just go and get that target. Now, before anybody says anything about it's not through the ball, of course it's not through the ball. If I start shooting that through the ball, I'm just going to finish up. I've got no aim point. So that's the reason it is where it is. It's the grouping that matters. It can all be adjusted in the scope. And this is a Continental 3 to 18 by 50. To be honest, if I was doing it for target work, I'd want something a bit better than that. I don't mean as far as optics, I just mean magnification wise. I'd want higher mag to get that just so I can see that little bit clearer and that little bit closer up. Other than that, it's superb. But that, and it would sit and do that all day long through the same hole, and in ideal conditions it'd be even better than that. I just think this is awesome. There is so much to come from this gun. I will be revisiting this in the future without a shadow of a doubt, and getting it set up a little bit better. We'll actually have it on the bag rest, and we'll have the adjusters correctly, or we'll have the monopod at the back down. I've just put it on the front of the Rockstead, 30 quid's worth of tripod, and it's producing those kind of results. It's awesome, absolutely, it's awesome. Yeah, the Epic 2, the one isn't even out yet, the Epic 2, and it is, yeah, it's epic. Back to the studio. I've been doing this reviewing business for quite a long time now, and occasionally along comes a gun that is a bit of a shock and makes this all worthwhile. This Epic 2 has just blown me away. I can't think of a rifle I have used that has had this effect on me before. The engineering is incredible. It is hugely customizable to make a truly individual rifle. It is so very forward thinking that a lot of other manufacturers really need to sit up and pay attention. I've shot the FAC, or full power version, and that takes it to yet another level. I have struggled to find something wrong with this rifle, or something I think they need to improve. And I've come up completely empty-handed. I suppose it's time to talk price, which again, from a customizable item, is difficult. But let's simply look at the version I have here. With all the adjustable options, this will cost you £1,980 plus the silencer. This does include a high-quality Negrini hard case and one exceptional magazine, and believe me, I can easily see that money in this folding stock bullpup. Epic claim this is the world's most advanced mechanical airgun, and I understand where they're coming from with that claim. Think of this as a race car, not a road car on a track day. Both will be classed as amounting to a race, but one is far more involved than the other, and indeed purposely designed and built to do the job. At this point, I've said enough, even though there is so much more that could be said, but the programme would be about an hour long. I would just like to say more will definitely be following. So, get clicking. Thumbs up, subscribe, feel free to share, hit the alarm bell, check out this little lot. As always, take a look at the AAR On Air website, and a big thank you to Vector Air for getting hold of this little beauty for me to review. They are the sole importers of Epic in the UK, and I believe they are doing free delivery on these for a limited period of time. As always, the biggest thank you goes out to you guys for watching and supporting the channel. Please stay safe and shoot safe. How? And I will see you next week. Ooh, bye for now.